So one of the themes that comes up when it comes to relationship repair, especially for us guys, is this worry of a partner thinking or feeling that you don't have your stuff together. And not a lot of people talk about it in the way that it's usually spoken about between partners and their friends. So in this video, I want to break down why, as a guy, your partner can be drifting away from you because they don't feel like you have your stuff together. I know it can be a tough pill to swallow, but either hearing from your partner that they think that you don't have your stuff together or has implied that you are somehow not enough in a relationship, there can be a lot of feelings of panic, maybe some hurt, maybe some anger, because this feeling of rejection of you as a person can feel pretty hurtful. And I've spoken to some people who have heard this directly from their partner saying you don't have your stuff together, or there's a kind of a general implication of it. And I want to break down in this video how to understand what it means and why it's actually way simpler than you think in order to finally get your stuff together in the eyes of your partner. I can get being told that maybe there's the implication that the direction isn't there or the drive isn't there, and maybe it can be used in terms of, sometimes it's used in terms of masculinity. Someone, has been told that they're not man enough. And I want to break down what it means, because a lot of us guys, unfortunately, can get caught up on this idea that this is somehow linked to a bank balance or a sort of macho attitude. And there's people out there that will sell you on this idea of, oh, well, in order to be more of a man, then you're going to have to increase your bank account. You're going to have to buy flashy cars. You're going to have to do all of these specific things to be more macho. But that's not necessarily the case. So understanding what it is to have your stuff together is really important, especially when it comes to the perspective of your partner. Like I said, having it together is not about your bank balance. It's talking more about your stability, your reliability, and your kind of emotional maturity. Now, I don't like using the word maturity, but that is something that comes up a lot when talking to women about men, is this idea of just not being maybe as in touch with emotions as societally women are in general. But we'll talk about that in a second. So the first thing in understanding what this means is understanding what it means to have your stuff together. The first thing that usually sticks out, especially the partner, is about having a clear lack of direction. And if you're a fellow ADHDer, sometimes this can hit us really hard, is that we can have a direction, but that direction can change quite regularly. It can sometimes go back to the original one. There's maybe more tangents than other people. So this can be seen as part of having this sort of lack of direction. But when your partner is trying to express this to you, it's less about being CEO and it's more about just having a North Star. If a partner feels like you're drifting, then it can feel like the pressure of the relationship, of the direction, not just emotionally, but logically as well. It can feel like the pressure is on them to steer the ship for both of you. And this can be quite overwhelming to think of having to direct the relationship for two people, when obviously as an individual, you have your own challenges and ideas and problems that you have to deal with in your own sort of personal life. It can be partly due to a kind of a lack of maybe personal ambition. So maybe complaining about your job, about your life, about your sort of situation, but not actually taking concrete steps in order to change it, or maybe taking small steps, but with no sort of real risk attached to it. So just taking safe baby steps that don't really push change too much. And this can be exacerbated if you're trying to also incorporate your normal hobbies, but maybe those hobbies are passive. So just doom scrolling or gaming or drinking, rather than active or generative hobbies. Hobbies that actually are still a hobby, but strengthen your main overall goal. So for example, if you have a career goal of becoming a CEO of a company, there are hobbies that kind of align side by side with that. Maybe they add a bit of networking, business networking to it. Maybe they increase some skills in socialization or speaking. Maybe those hobbies are a kind of a night school, kind of additional skills as well. These are active and generative hobbies. So having more of those hobbies can be seen as quite attractive because it adds into the overall goal. Everything is adding towards that one direction that you're heading in. But it's not only that. It can also mean that there's a waiting for instructions kind of vibe from you. So if you are in a relationship, a lot of us guys can fall into this idea of, even in the simplest things, of your partner saying, should we go out to dinner? And then we can go, yeah, where do you want to go? What do you feel like? And then it becomes this sort of back and forth. You're waiting for a response. And then when you don't get a response, you don't get a clear answer, then you get into this mindset of, I tried my best and it's not fair because you want me to read your mind, rather than actually being proactive in making plans. So for example, being able to say, hey, I think we should go to this restaurant. I booked a table for us on Thursday. Let me know if this is something that you want to do, or if you want a slightly different vibe. But either way, I booked it, but let me know. This is less about waiting for instructions, and this is being proactive in organizing things. But it's not just about dates. It's also, again, about your sort of overall direction. Are you constantly being told and reminded to do things that you've said that you're going to do? Or are you actually taking the initiative to do these things and keep on moving forward in the direction that you're headed? And this all kind of adds into this whole idea of masculinity. A lot of people try to sell you this idea that masculinity is about being strong and powerful and demanding and having all this money. But if you think about masculine qualities, it's more about being able to have a direction and start moving forward. It doesn't necessarily have to be the only direction, which is where a lot of people get caught up. It's not about having one direction, but it's about moving towards a direction alongside your partner. So if you're waiting for your partner to tell you what needs to be done, then you're not seeing a problem and doing it yourself. You're not taking that initiative. But your partner seeing you as not having your stuff together can also mean not having a plan B. We spoke about maybe not having even a plan A, but having a plan A, but not having a plan B for your own future can be just as scary as well. So not having that plan B, having a strong direction is really important, but also being able to have the foresight to be able to look around and say, if this doesn't work, if this falls apart or something happens, what is the backup plan as well? And again, that is about having a strong direction with multiple potential outcomes at the same time. Another major reason why a partner can think that you don't have your stuff together is emotional inconsistency. And obviously we talk about a lot about this on the channel, about not just about managing your emotions. So not just not raising your voice and not swearing, but if your partner feels like they're walking on eggshells or having to constantly play therapist, then it can be difficult to see a partner, because a lot of the emotional processing can start to be put in their hands. And again, I want to be clear, this is not about never telling your partner anything, never expressing your emotions to your partner, but this is about having a strong way of processing your emotions and being able to express them to your partner in a way that is clear, but also has a direction. So this is not about not being angry. This is about being able to know that you're angry, being able to have a strong emotional regulation process in order to process that emotion, then being able to express to your partner, hey, just to let you know, here's how I felt in this instance, but also at the back of their mind, knowing that you're not asking for help, but knowing long time that you got this, if that makes sense. And this can be a struggle for us ADHDers, especially when it comes to impulse control. A lot of the time, us ADHDers can struggle with very short reaction time or defensiveness when we feel criticized. Again, just because you have ADHD, it doesn't mean that this is hardwired into your body. At the end of the day, we can all learn these skills and develop these skills in a very strong direction. So it's not about not having emotion. It's about making sure that you have a strong process in order to be able to manage that emotion with minimal sort of hand holding. Because one of the worst habits that us guys can fall into is an emotional dependency on our partner. One of the best things to come in modern times is this idea of men learning more and more about their emotions and being able to get in touch and build those emotional skills. This is really important. The problem can come that guys can start to learn about their emotions, but still not have a process to be able to manage them. And usually they can put the weight of all of those emotional processes onto their partner and can rely on their partner as their only source of validation, their only source of happiness. And it can become quite draining. And this is where a lot of women especially can feel in a relationship where they have to become kind of mother and they have to look after your emotions because you don't have enough strong processes to be able to deal with the bulk of those difficult situations yourself. If you're unable to self-soothe if you're having a bad day, then it means that kind of everyone else in the house has a bad day. And this is one of the most important things when it comes to a relationship, is developing not only those sort of relationship skills, but the emotional skills for understanding yourself and also understanding your partner as well. And that's something that I work on with all of the members, is ensuring that you have the ability to be able to manage those emotions in a strong way, so that when it comes to conversations, you're able to be in touch with your own emotions and in touch with your partner's emotions at the same time. Being able to hold space for both is going to be really important in order to be able to move the relationship forward, especially when it comes to repairing a relationship. Having the ability to be able to do both at the same time is going to be absolutely crucial for moving and repairing that relationship forward. And as always, if you do want to start that journey and you want to join us, then join my Relationship Bootcamp, where you'll learn the fundamentals of relationships that all my members start with, to start turning their relationships around, repairing their relationships, and most importantly, growing them in the right direction long term. I'll leave a link in the description if you want to join us. But most of all, like I said about this idea of maturity, there can be sometimes this adulting gap. This is the logistical side of having your stuff together. So if the basics are crumbling, then it means that your partner can't trust you with the big stuff, like a future or kids or a mortgage. So at the most basic level, if you think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you think about the sort of living situation, the safety, the financials and stuff like that, if the basics aren't covered, then it can be very difficult to trust you with the higher stuff. You know, if your income is really inconsistent and has been for a long time, if you want to grow the family, then it can be difficult to trust that things are going to be in place in order to cover a new child, or taking a vacation, or being able to move house if the area that you get in starts to change and develop in the wrong direction. Making sure that bills are paid, administrative tasks and appointments and things like that, making sure that they're figured out and proactively taken care of before they become emergencies. Ultimately, if your partner feels like they need to teach you these things, then it can be very difficult to trust that when it comes to really important stuff that is the rest of our lives kind of stuff, then it can be very difficult to trust that you are going to be able to handle that. And there can be this feeling of, am I going to always have to hold his hand forever in moving this relationship forward? Or are they able to take the weight sometimes when things get tough? And that is something that's really important. And this is why ultimately, where I see so many relationships breaking down, is the difference between what us guys can say and what us guys can do with our actions. There can be this gap between talk and action, especially if you're trying to repair a relationship. A lot of the time, guys will spend time making promises rather than the hard work of actually following through on those promises. So just saying that you're going to get your stuff together, or just saying that things are going to change, is very easy. And if you've created this trail of always making these promises but never following through on them, your word, the value of your word, becomes very low. And that's why when relationships break down, trying to persuade your ex to come back, or trying to persuade your partner to reinvest emotionally in the relationship, often falls apart because you're focusing on the wrong thing. You're focusing on the marketing versus the actual action. And that's really important. I've actually done a deeper dive video on this, where when you're trying to repair a relationship, the more you try to persuade, the more you push your partner further and further away. Whereas you actually focus on the right things, taking the right actions, and especially when it comes to emotions and deepening your skills there, that is something that they're going to feel, rather than just having words once again be said and not follow through. Like I said, I won't dig into it here. I'll leave you with that deeper dive video, and I will see you over there.